guys, we're here today with Lance Carpenter, singer-songwriter. You've had a bit of a whirlwind for the past few years. You released your self-titled album, Lance Carpenter, in 2013.
I did.
You've performed with the likes of Toby Keith and Luke Bryan, and you wrote Kelsey Ballerini's #1 hit, Love Me Like You Mean It.
Been a great year last year, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Tell us about what's been happening.
Oh gosh, yeah, just to go back, the album in 2013 started out as just a songwriter project, and in the middle of it, I signed my first publishing deal, and I thought, well heck, maybe I should put a band together and do like an album release, and that was the first time I ever played with a band, and so now I tour the country as an artist as well, but songwriting's always been in my heart, and to be a part of Kelsey's song and to see it do what it's done has been amazing.
So where did the inspiration for that song come from?
Her producer, Forrest Glenn Whitehead, was my old roommate. He's my best friend in town. And we would leave our house and go to Black River and write on Monday night. And that night was like a week or two after they'd signed Josh Kerr and Kelsey to the publishing. We didn't have anything started, so Forrest said, why don't we just hang out with them tonight? I said, that's great, I'll order pizza. So we got together, it was probably around 7 o'clock, and we started writing songs. You get 4 writers in a room, that's going to happen. Couldn't tell you what it was. We got about a verse and a chorus into it. We weren't enjoying it. We were working, and we weren't there to work, so we just quit. And I ordered pizza. And around 9:30, in the middle of eating pizza, Kelsey said, "I've got this idea called Love Me Like You Mean It." And I'm like, "Well, you better keep me like you stole it, or you better." And everybody will kiss me like you this and this and that. And we're like, "Well, that's a pretty cool chorus." But we're not here to write. But luckily we did, and we jumped on that chorus real quick and got the guitars out. And we were listening to Rihanna and needed to get a little sass, and Kelsey, she's such a sweet girl, so I can get you some sass. She's like, oh hey, I got some sass. Kind of went
so it was always written for her?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we just figured she sings a lot better than the 3 of us, so she didn't have a record deal at the time. This song ended up getting her a record deal. So, but yeah, we were just 4 friends in a room getting to know each other, having fun. We weren't trying to write for anybody necessarily. We were just having fun and being conversational, and it got catchy. We finished at about 12:30 in the morning, did the work tape. And
who have your influences been?
George Strait was a huge influence, even though I don't really sound or write like him, but George Strait, Alabama, Garth Brooks, that was kind of where I cut my teeth. I've always been a country music fan, never really dreamed about being a country music artist, but that's, I tell everybody I'm country as a horse turd. You're welcome. I grew up on a farm, and so I have a very strong traditional country, you know, rooted in me. But I also love the contemporary country. People like, you know, Lee Brice just blows me away. I think his voice. And Toby Keith, Blake Shelton, I get kind of compared to them some.
Okay, oh, that's not a bad comparison.
No, not at all.
So you grew up in Arkansas, right?
I did.
Tell us about that.
Grew up on a farm, western Arkansas, raised cattle. We had turkey houses that laid eggs, and so I've always been a farm boy. Grew up on horses and 4-wheelers. And loved hunting and fishing as a kid. Music was something I listened to on the radio, and I would make pallets on the floor and watch CMT and CMAs and ACMs. Never dreamed I'd play. Come senior year, a few friends of mine around a campfire had an old acoustic guitar out and they were playing, and the girls kind of tended to attract the guys with guitars, so I thought, if I'm going to college, I played football in college, I want to get something, maybe that'd be fun. So I took a guitar to college just to kind of learn my first 4 chords watching CMT, trying to figure out where they put their fingers. Had the guitar for like 6 months before I realized you had to tune it. Like I said,
why isn't it sounding good?
It's like, this doesn't right. And a buddy of mine was like, yeah, you need to tune that. And I'm like, you mean it doesn't stay? And they're like, no. You change the strings, tune it. So I had a lot to learn. I was very green.
So if you weren't songwriting, would you have continued in the athletic field?
No, my body, I'm like a 60-year-old man now. I've had knee surgeries and foot surgeries, got a screw in my foot. But I got a degree in emergency administration and management. I'm actually about 4 hours shy of a master's in that field. And for over 8 years, I worked for FEMA with the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. I traveled the country and worked federal disasters. I've briefed presidents. I've been on the front lines of hurricanes, Katrina, Ivan, Ike. A lot of them, not Ivan, Ike. But that was my life before this, and so I traveled the country and did that. Music was something kind of like when I was in college. When I was holding the guitar, I didn't think about football, I didn't think about girls, didn't think about family, didn't think about school. I had to focus so much on that. It really became a hobby that was almost like my therapy. And so when I was on the road with FEMA, we were working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and when I got back to the hotel, if I wasn't sleeping, I'd pick the guitar up and it would totally turn everything off, all the bad things.
So you wrote a song for tornado victims, right?
I did.
Tell me about that.
Me and Matthew Huff, a buddy of mine from Arkansas, when I was with FEMA, I've never written when I was working for FEMA. I never wrote about things I saw or people I met. I've got thousands of ideas in my head about people that I've met that have went through things, but I always wanted to keep work and my hobby separate. I didn't want my bosses or the people to think, oh, well, he's using this, and that was even way before I even thought I'd be in Nashville. But I was out of FEMA, and my buddy Matt called me one day. We'd written before, and he's like, hey man, I'm coming to town. I've just got this idea with everything that's on the brink. And I thought his idea was on the brink. And I'm like, I have no idea how we're going to write that. And he gets there, and I'm like, how are we going to write on the brink? And he's like, what do you mean? And, well, that's what you said you want to write. He goes, no, I meant with this tornado, because we both had friends that lost houses. One of his friends lost a family member, and I think so. And it was just one of the things where he's like, oh, I want to write about this. I said, I've never written about that. But okay. But if we do this, I don't want to write it about just Arkansas. I want to write this in a way to where if this happens in Texas or Oregon or Maine or Japan, they can take this song and it'll give them hope. And so we sit down and wrote it, and very quickly turned around and got it recorded. And I talked to my lawyers and my publisher, and for the life of that song, 100% of the royalties that it ever makes is going to go towards storm victims.
Wow. What advice would you give to any younger artists that are, up and coming and are looking for words of wisdom for somebody who's already working in the industry?
Oh, I could give so much advice that has been given to me, just regurgitate it, but a short thing that I tell everybody, and I expound on it a little bit, is patience, persistence, and alligator skin. And the patience comes with people. You have to be patient with people when you're reaching out trying to get a gig or trying to get a write. They're not going to respond to you right away because they've got 100 other people trying to get that same thing. So you have to be patient with other people. And you have to be patient with yourself, with your craft, with your artistry, with your stage presence, with your ability to sing songs. So patience is something that's kind of this two-way mirror where you have to, like you said, wax and wane. You've got to give it and take it. And then persistence, though. You can't just sit there and do nothing. You got to be persistent with people, on booking gigs, on getting bands, on doing rehearsals. You got to be persistent with everybody that's going to be making the train go forward. But then you've got to be persistent with yourself. You got to practice every day. You got to sing. You got to write. You got to figure out what it is that you want to say as an artist. And that's the big thing. There's so many artists out there that are phenomenal singers, and they don't ever make it because they don't think they ever really know what they want to say or who they want to be.
Yeah.
They try to be who everybody else wants them to be instead of being who they are. Casey Musgraves, a great example of, she wasn't going to be Carrie Underwood. She was going to be Casey Musgraves.
What has been your most memorable moment?
Man, there's been several. Two of them I'll tell you about. The first one happened in 2010, which was really, I hadn't even moved here yet. I was still coming back and forth. And the power of a song was very much revealed to me one night. I was playing at the Commodore Grill over in West Nashville. And I played a song I wrote called Notches. It was inspired by my grandpa. He used to put me up against the door frame, me and my sister, and measure us when we were kids. And he said, when you grow up, you can be anything you want to be.
Aww.
And so I wrote this song with a buddy, Scott Tonkinson, who lives out in Arizona, and we basically wrote it. It's about growing up, and it's about life, and it's about making the most of the space between the notches. And I played that at the Commodore one night, and it was a really awkward night because back then I wore a cowboy hat everywhere. I still do when I'm on stage, but I'm just ball cap dude. And that night the Warped Tour was in town, so there was lots of punk rock and lots of mohawks and eye makeup on dudes and earrings and black clothes, and then there was kind of half and half in this place. And I played this song. And the waitress came up to me and said, one of the guys outside had a question for you. And I'm like, all right, my friends want to know. So I walked out there and turned to the table with my buddies, and I'm like, hey, one of y'all have a question? And they were all just white-faced. And they're like, wasn't us. And they kind of pointed over that way to this table of like 12 of them, and this dude stood up, and I swear he was 6'6", and had a big red mohawk. And out here I was with a cowboy hat, and we were just face to face. I thought, I have pissed this guy off. And yeah, so I walked up to him and I said, hey man, you had a question about a song? And he's like, yeah. And then tears just start pouring out of his face. He said, that Notches song, it's my life, man. he just broke down how everything in that song. It talks about going to jail as a kid and then having a kid and then grandpa passing the knife that made the notches saying, you know, keep track of your little man. And he showed me pictures of his boy and he said, you may not think it. He said, we're not really a hard rock band. He goes, we're a Christian rock band. And he said, I just want to let you know how much that song meant. And there's like two worlds collided that night. So the power of a song is pretty amazing. And then flash forward to my last show of last year. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys football fan. And I got a call to be the pregame show for the Dallas Cowboys New York Jets. So we got to play at AT&T Stadium. Got to go down and see the game from like the suite on the bottom floor. That was a pretty cool moment. I've seen George Strait play his last show in that stadium.
Meant to be.
And to see my face on the same screen that his was, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty pinnacle, isn't it?
My mom's favorite song of all time is Amarillo by Morning. So I will never write my mom's favorite song. But she put a post up that kind of made me tear up a little bit. She put on there a picture of me on the screen, and she goes, I've got to see my two favorite artists on this screen. One's written the favorite song of mine, but I'm sorry, George, this is my favorite artist. So that was pretty cool.
So your mom's obviously very supportive.
She is. She has always been supportive in any crazy idea or dream I've ever had. She's great.
What does 2016 look like for you at the moment?
Blessings that I don't even know are going to be there yet. I met with my publishers the other day about goals for this year, and it's basically just keep the train on the track. I want to try to write the best songs I can write with the best writers I can write. I want to try to book shows and play in front of fans that want me to come back and in front of fans I've never seen. You know, as far as success, I have no idea what waits out there. My college football coach said that success is where opportunity and preparation meet. It's like luck. That's where success happens. So I'm going to prepare, and I'm going to take every opportunity I can to use the gifts that are given to me and affect lives and see what happens.
Love it. Okay, so this is called A Minute in Australia.
A Minute in Australia.
Okay. First thing is, these are Tim Tams. This is an Australian icon. These are our favourite biscuit. The Tim Tam Slam is like a very traditional thing that we do.
Okay.
It's a cup of warm milk.
Awesome. I'm a milkaholic, so I feel safe.
Okay, so take a Tim Tam.
Take a Tim Tam.
And you have to buy one corner.
One corner.
And then the opposite, that corner, diagonal. You need to stick one end in the milk, and then suck the milk up through it and quickly put it in your mouth.
Okay.
Good?
Good. That's awesome.
Second thing, this is Vegemite.
Okay.
This is a favoured Australian spread.
Not like Vita Vita Vegemin from Lucy, is it?
Well,
My sister's.
that's that.
I love Lucy.
Oh, stop. Okay. This is, I can't believe it's not butter. The trick with this is you need to put just the right amount on,
Okay.
or you might not like it.
Alright.
First goes on the butter.
First goes on the bottom, butter goes on the
Butter
bottom.
goes on the butter. Bottom on the butter.
Bottom on the butter.
Oh yeah.
Good coverage.
Yes. I can't tell you how much.
Butter my butt and call me a biscuit. That's probably the best thing I said all day.
Agreed.
Told you I'm going to create a horse carriage. Alright, done.
Okay.
How much of this do I need?
I can't tell you.
I just got to figure out the right amount.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. So I'm just giving it a try. I'm an even spreader when I do like jams. So.
You're a good man. Don't come fasting.
That's right. I don't have an even.
Or are you just OCD?
No, not really OCD.
Gotta get every corner.
Good. It's like cinnamon toast. You don't want to bite that's less than the other bite. Alright.
Alright.
So go for it.
Go for God.
Interesting. Not what I thought it'd be.
What did you think it would be?
Sweet.
And what do you think?
It's salty.
Do you like it?
Not really. What the hell is it? Vegemite. I bet you might not eat that anymore.
So thank you so much for coming in, Lance.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
No
Appreciate
problem.
everybody. And for everybody that's getting to see this and has to see y'all, hopefully I get to meet you someday.
And he does like Tim Tams and not a fan of Vegemite.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.